Good evening, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of SportsZone. We've got a lot to cover after missing a week, so we're going to dive right into it. The UNT Mean Green are 0-2 in the last 2 weeks after dropping games to both UAB and La Tech. And here to tell me about the games are my two analysts, James Carroll and Sam Mangan. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'd be a little bit better if the UNT Mean Green could figure it out, but we'll see. James, how you feeling?
Exact same as you.
All right. Well, James, I'm coming to you first because the Mean Green put up an absolute stinker against UAB. Tell me about it.
I was there live for that game.
Oh,
No.
I'm so sorry.
Fun fact, that was my first college football game I ever went to live.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it was not fun. Nothing was clicking. From the first pass of the game, an interception on our own 10-yard line. Defense, running everything going through our defense. It was not pretty all the way around, and you could tell from the crowd. They were not happy at all.
Very quiet crowd, I'm sure.
They were.
Just to kind of put a pin in how crazy bad of a game this was, the last time that the Mean Green put up less than 7 at home was back in 2015, which was the last game of our previous head coach before Seth Luttrell. They decided that was enough.
To the mighty Portland State Vikings,
An
I
FCS
believe.
team. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, we also then dropped a game against La Tech. Sam, tell me about La Tech.
Well, if you think about it, compared to the game before, it wasn't that bad.
It was a very low bar
Oh,
that they
boy.
had to beat.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the beginning, it did not start off that good. With the first half, they scored 24 points. That's not good.
No.
But it actually wasn't that bad. We slowly started catching back up with 7 points in the first, and then the last 10 on our final stretch of the fourth, with some notable, actually good defensive plays. We had a block punt, a forced fumble, and a whole bunch more good stuff blocking.
It felt like one of those games where the score did not reflect how one-sided it was. UNT made it look a little bit closer at the end as opposed to the actual stomp that it was for the most part. And it's been a bad couple of games, especially from the passing and the quarterback position. The last time that the Mean Green have put up consecutive games of less than 100 yards passing was back in 2006 against Florida Atlantic and UL Monroe. That is atrocious, and it's not going to win you very many football games. So now the question is, what do we do at the quarterback position, James? Do we go with Austin Awney, or do we go with Jace Reuter?
Well, it would be one thing if you had, like a Nick Chubb back there. Then maybe you could get away with it. But yeah, no. As far as what we have, definitely not going to get away with that. I've been adamant about going with Jace Reuter this whole time. Nothing personal against Awney, obviously. He obviously knows the offense better, and he looked better in those past 2 games, at least I believe. But I feel like he's kind of that constant roadblock for QB development in the UNT program in general. There's that little cycle. Quarterback transfers here. They get replaced by Awney, and then they go away. And then the season starts again, and it starts all over.
It's like Groundhog Day for
Exactly.
UNT fans,
And
which
it
is
is
not fun at all.
Yeah,
Sam, agree, disagree? Is this kind of what we're doomed to repeat?
I actually disagree with you. I believe Reuter's had his chance. He had his time to shine, and he put up 5 interceptions within the last 4 games. That's not what I want to see as a QB. And Awney, he's been doing, as far as I can tell, he's doing all right. So far, 0 interceptions. He's great outside the pocket, and he can do a lot more. If he could throw on the run, he can do a lot more stuff.
Interesting. Well, I think the obvious thing is that he needs to choose. Luttrell needs to pick somebody and just stick with that, because I don't think that they're getting the experience and the time and the opportunities they need if they're going to be going back and forth. And now looking at the rest of the season, we do have a bye week coming up. Can we even, who are we looking at on the rest of this schedule going like, yeah, okay, we can win a game, James?
Well, for me, they've played some pretty good opponents, but for me, I'm looking at Rice. If there's one person that can out UNT, it's them running 3 quarterbacks. The main guy's Constantine, but they also have McCaffrey and Wiley Green. None of them have put up impressive numbers, much like our guys, unfortunately. So if there's any, smidgen of hope, it's, I think, at that Rice game down in Houston.
Sam, please tell me we have something more than rice.
Well, I know for sure we're not beating Missouri.
No, the UNT has a terrible record against the SEC, so that's obviously
I
not
know,
going
but
to
with
work,
that, I believe we do have a chance about Southern Mississippi.
Okay.
I think there's a slim chance we may actually pull it out, just based off their record and ours is similar. They both lose. So I see Southern Mississippi as we have a good chance.
I think the problem that UNT has is it's not like any of the teams they're playing against, they have like a winning record against, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of look at it going like, we split games all the time with these guys, so how are we going to be able to come up and beat them when we can't even put together decent games overall? Is Latrell going to survive really quick? Is he going to make it?
As of right now, I don't think so. Based off the way this season's been going, I don't think so.
No, I think if they hadn't fired him by now, I figured they would have just gone ahead and done it. But
Exactly.
anyway, coming up next, we have the Cowboys review. We got 2 big games. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back to SportsZone. Other than UNT having an 0-2 season, the Cowboys managed to rack up a 2-0 in the past couple of weeks with strong wins against the Chargers and our rival in the NFC East, the dreaded and feared Philadelphia Eagles. And here to tell me about those games are the 2 Smiths, Parker Smith and Sean Smith. Smiths, how are we doing?
Pretty good, but I don't know about feared for the Eagles. I don't think they're very feared.
Okay, not this season. It used to be a big deal back in the day, the Cowboys and the Eagles. But you have the Chargers, Parker. Don't go encroaching on his territory. You tell me about the Chargers first.
So the Cowboys-Chargers game was really a game won in the trenches by the Cowboys. Over 170 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns. We saw one from Zeke, and we saw another one from Pollard. And it was really just a story of the offensive line dominating. The game was really won in the trenches, and just an overall great showing. Great to have Zach Martin back as the Cowboys really missed him, and that run game looked really solid.
It did. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I was extremely nervous when Zuerlein had the opportunity to win or lose the game because it's not like he's been particularly consistent over the past couple of games. But they followed that squeaker out with a nice win against the Philadelphia Eagles, Sean.
Yeah, it's they maybe not be feared now, but in the past it's been a historic rivalry. I'll say that. But yeah, the Cowboys came in, did what they needed to do. Defense looked good. Micah Parsons has been out there looking good. Trayvon Diggs has another interception. That's won every game. That pick six was backbreaker for the Eagles in the third quarter. Came in, did what they needed to do, and came out with the dub. Squandered the team that needed to be squandered.
There you go. The good teams beat the bad teams, and that's what will get you into the playoffs. Now, The Cowboys are 2-1. They are atop the NFC least, which does not mean anything at all because it is the NFC least. But I am not convinced by this Cowboys team just yet. I think they've got a couple of issues that they need to figure out. The first one being Zeke Elliott is just not worth the money that he's being paid. Pollard matches his productivity, and you're not paying Derrick Henry money to just a pass blocker. I do not think he's worth the money, and you've got several contracts coming up that are going to need to be filled or given to rookie players. CeeDee Lamb is going to be coming up, Trayvon Diggs, Connor Williams, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz. All these guys are going to be needing money. So, Parker, am I completely off base here, or are you in agreement with me that this is just not going to work?
No, you're not. You're not off base because a 5-year, $90 million deal for a running back like Zeke Elliott is just it's not going to work. Especially we've seen it in like at the Jets in New York. Le'Veon Bell got that big deal, immediately cut because you can't afford a running back unless you're Derrick Henry, unless you're Dalvin Cook, Kamara, CMC, unless you're one of those elite top 4 guys. You just shouldn't be getting paid the money like Zeke is when a running back like Pollard behind you is on a minimum salary. It's just not going to work.
Right. Nobody is telling that whoever I don't even know who Derrick Henry's backup is, but nobody is clamoring for that guy to get more touches, right? Not like here where everyone's saying Pollard needs those touches. Now, to going from kind of one of the bad to the less bad, Dak has actually looked pretty sharp, yes? He's not the same Dak. He's not making plays with his feet. He's not really running around as much. He's kind of extending the play, but he's more conscious of when he's going to take a hit and going down early. And Sean, I think that's kind of a big deal for this Cowboys offense.
Right. Obviously, you never want to see your franchise player get hurt, take hits that they don't need to. I think Dak's done a great job of adjusting his game, sort of in a Derrick Rose style. He's not making those shifty athletic plays anymore. But he's never been relying on that. So he's using his arm well and, protecting himself, and they're going to need that.
He's turned into more of a pocket passer as opposed to, like an RG3 who is just constantly looking to run. And I think you saw that with a lot of rookie quarterbacks this last year. Justin Fields trying to make a bunch of plays with his feet, just couldn't do it. But I think that's going to be a big part of dissecting defenses and maybe opening up the run game a little bit more is going to be Dak being able to find those short, accurate passes. And he was very efficient. Has a very good efficiency through the first 3 games. I think only threw 5 incompletions last week against the Eagles or this past game. Not flashy numbers, but good enough numbers. And it's not the same Dak that we're used to, but it's going to be a Dak that should be good going forward. And now I'm going to come back to the biggest thing that's bothering me after watching these past few games, and that's Mike McCarthy mishandling the clock. Last week against the Chargers, we saw in the final minute them not take a timeout and get an extra play for better field position, and Greg Zuerlein managed to bail him out from a long field goal. And then at the end of the half against the Eagles, we saw him. I was yelling at the TV. I don't know about you guys, but I was furious. This is basic stuff that people learn in the earliest days of football. You have a timeout. You have the opportunity to get the ball back with time.
And you don't use it.
And you don't use it.
Now, it's full possession on the board. You just leave it there. The ref came up to him, was like, "Are you going to call a timeout?" He's just standing there.
I saw it on the broadcast.
He's like, "You got 2 of them. You can call it right now. You can get another possession." I'm good. I don't have faith in my franchise quarterback.
And I think that's really important, too, that he needs to start taking those timeouts because when we're going to get later in the season and the Cowboys are going to be in playoff position, it's going to be vital that Dak Prescott's able to run those 2-minute drills successfully. So earlier in the season, when you have the ability against an Eagles team that you're going to beat, to run those 2-minute drills and to get practice for Dak Prescott later in the season, I think it's important that they do that, and they didn't last point, which really didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I think the more I watch Mike McCarthy's game management, the more I'm convinced that Aaron Rodgers and that Packers defense really kind of carried him to that Super Bowl. And at least Jason Garrett had an excuse, right? He was calling the plays and doing head coach stuff. Kellen Moore is doing a fantastic job calling plays.
100%.
There's no excuse for Mike McCarthy to not have this in place. And we kind of gave him the pass last year, but I just don't see it happening this year. But coming up next, we do have the greatest Dallas sports moments in history. to Sports Zone. Dallas has a long and vibrant history of sports and sports moments, and we're going to take a deep dive into the annals of history. Here to do that with me are Jeremiah Russo and Sebastian Nava. Gentlemen, how are we feeling today?
Doing
Doing
well.
good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Sebastian, I'm going to come to you first. What was your greatest Dallas sports moment?
See, as a, I've lived in Dallas my whole life. I love the DFW area. I have a few moments, actually, and most of them are baseball.
Okay.
My number one moment has to be whenever Neftali Feliz struck out Alex Rodriguez to clinch the first ever appearance in the
Yes.
World Series.
Yes.
Especially because it's Alex Rodriguez. Everything he did to the Rangers, trashed them. Being just an absolute jerk on the field any chance he gets. Just for him to be the one that strikes out, and they caught him looking too. He's just out there looking silly. And then as us celebrating, it felt so good.
And we love that little bit of revenge against A-Rod. Not that A-Rod wasn't good for us for a little bit, but after all that, it's just unfortunate that the Rangers then went on to play like they did in the World
don't talk
Series
about
and lose
that.
2 in a row. We don't talk about that, though. That's not the good sports moment. The strikeout is.
There you go.
Jeremiah, how about you?
Kind of like that Rangers in that World Series. Mine is going to be the Dallas Stars in the 1920 bubble that just appeared this year or last year. They did great. They were favored as the underdogs. They said, you know what, we're going to be the underdogs. Let's go boot you guys all the way to the finals. And, took it all the way. Almost clinched it, just, 1 game short. But, those guys like Johnny Klinberg, Miro Heiskanen, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn. And let's not forget the man, the myth, the legend, Anton Khudobin. They'll be saving miraculous saves, just trying to put his team over. But I think that's probably the best sport moment in Dallas history in my generation.
See, the thing is, when you think, I guess it's, I would have to put the Rangers over that just because nobody in DFW got hyped for that.
But here's
when you
the
look,
thing.
When you look around, honestly, Dallas isn't the biggest market for hockey.
But that's the
especially
thing.
considering
It's
we're in the
growing
South.
now. So the Winter Classic played in 2020. That was the hugest turnout in all NHL history. And you're playing in hot as heck Dallas, Texas, the Cotton Bowl. So hockey is a big growing sport here. And yes, not to say the Rangers suck, but the Rangers suck right now. But
No, but listen,
But-
do you not remember back in 2010 and back in 2011 when the whole Metroplex was Ranger Town?
that's true.
Yeah,
We were doing the claws and the antlers.
I remember
Now-
that. That's fair.
Now,
That's fair.
okay, youngins. Y'all probably weren't even alive for this one, so I'm going to tell y'all a little bit of a story. Back in 98-99, the Dallas Stars won the Stanley Cup. I know that was a long time ago, but that was actually the greatest sports moment in Dallas history. Why? It's a little bit of nostalgia for me, little 7-year-old me up in triple overtime, trying to listen on the radio after my parents had told me to go to bed. But it's also the time frame that the championship was won in. In that time frame, the Dallas Cowboys' big dynasty had just come to an end. The triplets were gone. It was the end of the 90s. The Mavericks had a young Dirk, but that was it. They were not looking good anytime soon. The Rangers, they were the Rangers. And that's about all you need to know for the 90s Rangers. This was what solidified hockey as a sport and as a market in the Metroplex. And it was at a time where Dallas really didn't have anything going for him.
But see, even now, when you think about the teams in the Metroplex, I would have to say that Stars like the 4th most popular team here in Dallas.
So, okay, then what are the most popular then, if we want to do that?
Okay, well, the
obviously-
Cowboys is obviously.
Cowboys,
Cowboys is
obviously,
number one.
yeah. Then you go
but
to
any, but any of their
Mavericks.
moments is ancient history at this point.
And I would put Dallas Stars over. The
No,
Yeah.
no, not the Stars.
Right now, yes.
Right
because
now, yes.
They're
those
not
two
even
kind of
good anymore
swap
this year.
depending on.
They didn't make the playoffs last year, did they?
Well, last year was a different story because with the shortened season, it was all basically like whatever team was rebuilding, let's just throw the rookies in so the vets later
But
on.
if we're talking history, right?
Let's
If we're
agree
talking
that the
history-
Rangers and the Stars swap depending on who's playing well, right?
True.
Because when the Rangers were in the World Series, it was all man baseball town, and then when the Stars were in the Stanley Cup Finals and the Rangers hadn't done anything for the past couple years, it was here we go, Stars all the way.
Because I'm also
kinda
thinking
neck and neck right
because
there.
the Rangers are so up and down. So I feel like they're always they'll come back. Especially even back in 2016, they were the number 1 seed, and then we had Rugnet just punch out Jose Bautista. I feel like
That was a good moment.
Is that a
has to
runner-up
be a
for- is
top-
that a runner-up?
That has to be a runner. Yeah, that
Okay.
would be one of my runners up.
Okay, so Jeremiah, if you had to pick one, what's your runner-up?
Probably the Mavs winning in 2011. Dirk
Is there any
Nowitzki.
specific one? Because man, that Dirk post up around
That
Udonis
one had to
Haslem,
be
or was it
it.
Chris
Or
Bosh?
even,
Chris Bosh?
or even, like I mentioned earlier, the Winter Classic were the highest turnout in the NHL. Playing outdoors. Poor Corey Perry, literally 5 minutes into the game, had a nice little.
That was dirty. I was at the game, and that was dirty.
Nice
There's
little
no getting
elbow,
around
had
that one.
Great
Had the-
concussion
There's
in
no
the
getting
first
around
5
that one.
minutes.
The famous walk of shame. I think that's probably a memory he doesn't want to remember.
So I think it is my runner-up is a Mavericks one, but I think it's actually Luka's three-pointer against, I think it was the Bulls, where it was just complete fadeaway. He's falling into the stands on a three-point game winner, and it was like that is the classic, like, that
Which one?
is
The bubble
Luka
or-
magic.
Was it in the
No,
bubble?
it wasn't in the bubble.
bubble.
It was just
If it was the
was-
bubbles, that was the Clippers that he did that.
No, he was like falling into the stands from
Oh,
three
probably the
against the
Bulls
Bulls
then. Yeah.
back like in his rookie year because there's fans in the stadium. And that was Fallowell's big call was, that is Luka magic. And that is, goosebumps
I feel
every
like,
time.
I feel like though, like in order to make a solid like moment, it has to be in the playoffs.
That's
no?
fair. But
You know,
we
'cause-
can agree to disagree on that one, Sebastian. But we got to get going to the next block. Coming up, we have got UNT alumni. Where are they now? Welcome back to SportsZone. UNT has quite a few alumni out in the sports world maintaining and doing a fantastic job, and we're going to take a look at some of them and where they are now. Here to help me do that are my two analysts, Mason Shepard and Jose Moreno.
Hi, how's it going? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing just fine. After that, Mason, I'm going to come to you first. Please tell me about your alumni.
All right, UNT fans, let me talk to you. I've been waiting to say that for a long time. So my UNT alumni are Javion Hamlet, who is a point guard for a team in Israel right now. He had an impressive senior year, and he was Conference USA Player of the Year, and he was Conference MVP. So I'm really excited for his career trajectory and to see what he can do. He's a talented combo guard with tough character, and I really think he can take it a long way. He was he averaged 15.6 points a game. He was 37.3 from three, and he seems like a good guard that would bring success to any team. My second is UNT alum Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the greatest wrestlers who ever lived. He is a pop culture icon, 19-time champion. He has done everything in the business, and he has revolutionized wrestling and what it means to be a pop culture icon.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, huh?
You know it.
I actually did not know he was a UNT alumni. I learned something today. Thank you,
They
Mason.
need to broadcast it more. Most famous man to go here. Don't at me.
The most famous?
The most famous, without a doubt.
I don't know.
Mean
dude.
Joe Green?
Most famous, without a doubt.
I would-
The Mean Green.
I'd
Mean
have-
Joe Green.
Yeah.
I'd have to say Meatloaf is up there.
Me-
Okay, this is sports alumni, not Meatloaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like Meatloaf. though.
Okay, so good segue though, Jose. Besides Meatloaf, who's your alumni you're checking?
The guy who played Sandman in Spider-Man. No, and in all seriousness, my two alumni I picked out today is Jalen Darden, just because he's inspiration. So inspirational, man. I love that guy. Played great for UNT. Was a super integral piece of that offense that was so good back in the day. Back in the day, as I mean last year, because nowadays life sucks being a UNT fan.
But I digress. I also chose as well Stone Cold Steve Austin. But because he actually did play football for like a year or so. He was like a linebacker.
Yeah.
No one cared.
Yeah, he
Fun
played
fact
football.
about Stone Cold Steve Austin, he came up with the name in the city of Denton, Texas. His wife made a tea for him and was like, hey, your
Drink
tea
your
is
tea
stone
before it gets
cold.
stone cold.
Stone
And that's
Cold
where it
Steve
came
Austin
from.
Came up with it.
I'm
Yeah.
learning all kinds of
You're
things
learning
today.
so much
This is
Stone
stuff you
Cold.
should already know with him
Fun
being an
fact.
alum. I don't know why
But
you don't know
I'm
it,
not a
man.
big wrestling guy, so that's kind of
No,
outside
no,
of my
beyond that,
wheelhouse.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
just don't
Okay, so
broadcast
y'all
it.
both had Stone Cold.
Yeah. Now looking back at it, I should have picked, Meatloaf, but I
You're gonna ride
You-
that gravy
oh,
train too,
oh,
I'm
aren't you?
sorry,
done with
man.
Meatloaf.
My mother loved Meatloaf when I was a kid. She loved playing Meatloaf, and I can do anything for love. I was like, dang, what a song. I was 8 years old. It changed my life permanently. But, he didn't play football, sadly. Stone Cold did. Great football player. He played for one season. Was a bench warmer.
Yeah.
I would have been a bench
What
warmer
team?
if I played. UNT.
No, oh, he only played
Yeah, he
one
only
year
played for
here.
Yeah,
UNT.
only
He
played
played-
one year, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant he played in the NFL for
No, if he
you.
played in the
No.
NFL, that'd be crazy.
No, he only played 1 year here and then 1 year here and then he dropped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a couple of different players that I was thinking of for alumni because there's actually kind of a worldwide deal here at UNT as well. Not just American players. We have a lot of people that are representing overseas and that are from overseas. For example, Sebastian Munoz from Bogota, Colombia, 2015 graduate. He is now on the PGA Tour, 75th in the world, not too shabby.
Yeah.
And he represented Colombia in the Olympics and in this past season and tied for 4th overall, just outside of a medal. Doing a very good job representing UNT on the course for us.
That's really interesting because UNT way back in the 60s, or like 50s or so, was when they played golf on the college circuit. They were like a dynasty of sorts. So it's kind of like a weird, ode to the past when UNT used to be good at sports. Now we just give up after the first.
Look,
All right, man, they're gonna
we're
kick you
gonna
off the show if
we're
you do that.
No more negativity on
No
this
more
show.
negativity
We're
here,
gonna
man.
get there.
I am just a nihilist man right now with how our team is playing. It's
Well,
like-
then here, let me lift your spirits because I've got not one, but two mean green ladies who are out playing in the women's FIBA tournaments
Yep.
and representing very well. You have Anisha George for the U.S. Virgin Islands, racked up 14 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and 2 blocks over the course of 5 games. Did a fantastic job, was a fantastic player here as well during her career, and put up some great numbers while she was here. And it's good to see her continuing that as she represented. This is actually not her first time representing the U.S. Virgin Islands. She's done it before as well. But then across the entire ocean, we have Akil Tak, who was a 2016 graduate, and she is now on the first ever South Sudan national team in the FIBA Afroball World Cup
That's really cool.
tournament,
That's
which is I didn't even know that was a thing. but-
Showing cultural diversity here. I like that.
Absolutely, yes. It just shows that here at UNT, we have plenty of opportunities. Thank you very much for watching SportsZone. We had a fantastic time tonight. We broadcast at 5:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. Stick around. We got UNT news coming up next.
the news.
Yes, but